The time is now 6:30, and I'll call the Building and Grounds Committee meeting to order. Sean, I'll let you come up. Tonight we're going to talk about the request to change permitting software and a request to approve an application for exemption from the state fire marshal for larger commercial projects.
Yeah, so about 2 years ago, we bought some new permitting software. At that time, it was SmartGov. They were recently purchased out after we just bought them, and about 4 months later, they got bought out by Granicus, which is a larger company. There's been some service issues. Customer service rating has gone down. They're not honoring the pricing that we had. So due to those, we started looking around. I tested a lot of software, did a lot of looking, searching. We came across this one. They are a sole source. One of the great benefits with this is they will provide violation letters in both English and Spanish, which will help us a lot. We have a lot of language barrier there sometimes. And the additional with that is with applications, they'll be able to complete the application in Spanish and put to us on the backside in English, further helping that. Cost-wise, it'll be cheaper. The first year will be a little bit more just due to the implementation cost, but it's not very much more. And we will not have any fees assessed to us until the next budget year.
Okay. Do you have an estimate on how much it's going, like the price difference?
So the first year total with implementation is right at $28,000.
Okay.
But we have a little bit of wiggle room. We might be able to sneak some of that implementation in this year's budget and then the next do cost.
I know how difficult it is to find software that works for your needs, and so if that's what you feel is the right choice to make.
It is, and it's a pain switching software and getting everything transferred
It
over.
is.
So if we didn't feel it was necessary, I would sure not want to go through this.
Are we under any obligation with the other company?
No, we can cancel that. So.
Okay.
Would you mind sending the exit strategy language
Yeah, I'll
in
send
the
it to you.
existing contract?
Yep.
Just so we can comply.
Yeah. And we can get that fixed before it goes to the full. So.
Okay. Do you have any other questions? If not, do I have a motion to recommend this to the full board?
I'll make-
Go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then let's move on to the request for approval to apply for exemption from the state fire marshal for larger commercial projects.
Yeah, so for larger commercial projects, which are listed down on there, a lot of those are going to be apartment complexes, which we're going to be, we had some BZA approvals for, so those will be coming up in the next probably half year to a year. So currently, those fall under the state fire marshal jurisdiction and not ours. So if we can apply for this exemption, then we would be able to do all the permitting and inspections on all those projects, which will save time. Anything that's got to go to the state fire marshal has additional time and cost to the applicants.
It does.
And that'll give us all the exemptions, getting the electrical finished up, so we'll have them all, be able to take care of it.
Great. Go ahead.
Well, so who will do that, what the fire marshal did?
We'll do all the inspections ourselves, and then in conjunction with the fire department, we'll do all the inspections.
You'll do all of it?
Yep.
And like the civic center, would that have fallen to y'all? I mean, say we were doing that now, that would fall to you?
Yeah, so currently what it is anything over 2 units for an apartment complex would fall under a state fire marshal. A business occupancy 3 stories or greater, and height requirement, there's a few others that fall in there. That unless we are granted that exemption, we cannot inspect those. They fall under that state fire marshal jurisdiction. So like the blue building, that was state fire marshal jurisdiction. So if we got this moving forward, that would all fall under us.
And like the civic center would still fall
Yeah,
under
it's just
something
fall
that
under us.
large,
Yeah,
so this,
yeah.
okay.
Is that hard to get that approval?
No, so it's just some forms we fill it out. We'll have to take it to the full board. It's got to come from Mayor Chastain. That's just the way the state fire marshal works. They come down, do an initial review, approve us, and then we get audited every 3 years to make sure we're reasonably enforcing the code.
So the rules don't change any, it's just the person that's,
Yeah, it's
that's going out.
it's just we would be doing it instead of state fire marshal. So
So, how did you come across this?
a lot of research and going through.
So you just stumbled upon it, and so here we are?
Yeah.
I would say you had gotten a lot of phone calls of people complaining about the delays with the state
Yes, we had that.
fire
The
marshal.
electrical was the other one. We have a lot of delays. The current state electrical inspector only comes out a couple times a week, so that causes delays. So that's why we went for this one, and then this one would give us all, so.
Good.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's great.
I'll make the motion that we do this.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How about the electrical inspections? Is that coming pretty soon?
I'm waiting for him to come down here. He should be coming down the end of the month to do our initial audit, and then we'll all be rolling. So hopefully by the first of next month, we'll start permitting and get those rolling.
Everybody through training and all that?
Yep.
Everybody?
Yeah, that certification's all ready to roll out.
Great.
Just waiting on them.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. If there's no further business, I will call the Buildings and Ground Committee adjourned.
Well, you're still in your room. Let's see if there's a picture.
Of me?
No, of these attorneys.
In my last reading.
It is 6:40. We will call to order a joint session of Streets and Sanitation and Tourism for the purpose of discussing purchase of an artificial Christmas tree.
Yes, so the reason this is before you today is because Public Works, very specifically Urban Forestry, has brought to our attention that the way that we currently procure and manage the Christmas trees is causing quite a few safety concerns. And so from that perspective, we would like this to be in front of you for consideration. We did, John Austin with Urban Forestry did procure 4 different quotes, which we've reviewed. The lowest came in as Winter Green Corporation out of Georgia with a quote of $19,977.20 delivered. For payment on this, we'd be splitting it 50-50 between tourism and public works. We would have 50% due at the time of ordering, which would probably be in about 2 to 3 weeks from now. The other 50% would come out at the time of delivery, which would be sometime in the next fiscal year, so we would be able to budget for that.
So what safety concerns specifically is Urban Forestry concerned about?
Yeah, so we do have, and if it's necessary to talk about that this evening, we do have some anecdotal evidence of things that have already occurred. Libby can speak more clearly to the financial impacts of it.
So I had several employees come to me about the process of how we obtain the tree and then how we set the tree. And they've all said they don't feel safe doing it. I have reached out to MES because they let us use their crane truck. I assumed that their guys were tree service guys. They are not. They advised me they don't have tree service anymore. MES contracts it out. So we do not have that skill, and our employees have not been trained to do this. I can explain the near misses we've had, but I asked Frank and John to be here because they've actually attempted to set the tree, and both have had some issues. So I'd like them to share what happened so you understand why we're looking for an alternative solution.
Yeah, I had a instance, I think it was about 2 years ago, when we were lifting the tree and MES had it with the crane truck. I was underneath it cutting the tree, but I couldn't hear it because I was running the saw. So they were lifting up on it, taking the slack out of the rope, and I didn't realize that the rope was not choked correctly. So as I'm under there, the tree was sitting down on me, so someone had to come and grab me because I couldn't hear them telling me to get out from underneath it, and then they pulled me out from underneath the tree, and then we reevaluated and then eventually got it up. But there are a couple other issues we've had. This year, actually, specifically, we had to take the tree down early because we're anchoring it down into the soft ground, so you get the freeze-thaw cycles and a lot of wind, a lot of rain in December typically. So you have straps attached to the trunk of the tree, and then as that tension is pulling also on the stakes that are down into the ground, they're 3-foot-long stakes. Every day, typically, the first thing we do is come and make sure everything's tensioned correctly, but at a certain point, it leans too much and we cannot reset it without a crane truck. So that's another issue. Then actually 3 years ago, we had the tree. The first year we had the ice skating rink set up, we moved it behind the ice skating rink. And we came in one morning, right at the end of the ice skating season, and the tree had fell over completely. So we had to just saw it up and get our lights off of it. So that was, luckily it happened overnight, so that was not an issue to anybody getting hurt, but it was kind of a wake-up kind of moment.
And how that actually works is we take it, it's got a PVC pipe in the ground that is a sleeve that we set the tree down in. We try to get the right size of the tree, cut it. And I was up under it one time and trying to get it in the hole. And normally there's 2 or 3 people up under it, setting it down in the hole actually. And it had kind of leaned and it had caught on the side and I was up under it, and well, they straightened it back up with the crane, and it all of a sudden just dropped. And it had kind of pinned me to the ground. And, I mean, it had hurt my ribs and stuff, but nothing, no major things. But that's the main thing, is they've gotta be 3 or 4 people under the tree. And all it is choked up with the branches. So, I mean, we can't go to the big end of the tree to choke it, because it's gotta be counterweighted to where it'll actually go down in the hole. So it's smaller limbs it's choked on. And that just kinda, if one of them ever does break, there's usually 3 or 4 underneath the tree.
So what is assembly like for one of these?
What's assembly like? You talk to them?
So
and-
it comes, these are custom trees, so they come with a solid welded frame, and then they're in quarter sections, so you bolt them all together, and then you build your tower up, and it's actually an engineered frame. And then you have already a wiring harness that's already pre-assembled on the tree, and you just plug everything together as you're going up with it. And then you have branches that are probably, some of them are 24 inches, 36 inches, it depends on where they're sitting on the tree, just like a tree you put at home. Then you put it into a collar, and then you go around and just plug them in together. And also the tree that we're looking at will be a pretty long-term investment. I think this company also manufactured the garland, the wreaths that are on this building. And as of this year, those were 10 years old, and they basically still look brand new, so very high quality stuff. So I think realistically, you can get 25 to 30 years out of something like this. And the bulbs are also screw-in style, so you can change the style of the bulb, the color of the bulb. Something burns out, you can replace it as well, so.
That was my first thought, is like at home, this year, I had to get rid of 2 Christmas trees because half the lights didn't work anymore. Have,
Yeah, that would not be an issue with this. This is like all of our stuff is commercial that we use down here. These wreaths that are on the
section
building
doesn't
are
work,
screw-in style,
it's
so.
easy to repair.
Yeah, very, very easy.
What holds them up?
Yeah, all the commercial stuff comes with things that, so you can upkeep it so that you get longevity out of it.
They're actually hooked into the tree branches.
No, I mean what holds the tree up?
Explain how you are gonna anchor it
Yeah.
down in the concrete.
We're actually, if we do get this, we are gonna put it on the fountain. We take the fountain down every year or two. Kinda clean it, winterize it, paint it if it needs to be painted and everything. So we're actually gonna have this tree setting where the fountain is. And it will be actually anchored in with concrete anchors and cables actually holding it down.
And with the welded frame, so that should be very
Yeah.
solid. There should be no fear of it shifting with the wind or anything. And
And
also for scale, I think this building is approximately 30 to 32 foot tall. If we put a topper on that tree, it's 26 foot. The fountain base is 24 inches, so we're raising it another 2 feet. There's 28 feet. We get a 4-foot tree topper star, then we're up close to the top of this building. It'll be a centerpiece for Main Street as well, so.
Where are you gonna store it?
The transfer station probably. And that's I guess, doing it the way we're doing it now, it takes my whole crew just about to do it. That's 8 people,
Takes
then
about
our
3.
3 from the urban forestry. This new tree will be 3 people will be able to put it.
The first time will probably take a day, but they said once we've gone through the process once, it'll take about 4 hours to install it.
That's a question. If you purchase the tree, does that include installation? And is it all their people?
No.
Or is it part yours, part?
We will be
It's
doing
six.
installation.
Yeah, the urban forestry department will do the
So you
installation.
still have the risk of mishap.
Well, we won't
Well, it's
need
kind of self,
a crane and all that.
Right.
yeah, you don't have.
It's not one piece, it's not a one-piece tree, it's put together by piece.
Yeah,
So,
in sections, it'll be,
I don't think any piece will weigh over 30 pounds. I think that'll be the main frame at the bottom, because it's bigger at the bottom, obviously, and as you go up, the pieces get smaller.
I have a couple of questions. Will our electrical, because I was looking through at the electrical, will we match all what they need to plug it in and
Yes,
all that?
yeah, we have
Yeah,
a 20 amp service on each side of that tree. Actually, 120 amp will run it, but we'll go ahead and just tie into both of them.
And I guess another question is if it goes over the fountain, which I don't know about that, but if it goes over the fountain, is that a proper use of the tree? I mean, if some mishap comes along with the fountain involved, is that a steady surface for it?
Yes, we'll build a platform for the tree to actually set on.
Okay, third question, I guess, is there another style, because this is like a perfect triangle, is there something that looks like a real tree? It is a perfect, do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't
Yeah,
look
yeah.
realistic or like it came out of the forest and it looks like a really fake triangle tree.
You can fluff the branches out different ways. Some people like the symmetry on them, but when you're installing it, it is individual branch pieces, and then they have wire inside of it, and you can bend it as you want. And then these are the most realistic when you get up on them. You can get something called a panel tree. It's much cheaper, but it also looks very cheap as well. So they're 4-foot pieces of garland strung on the metal frame, and just hook it on.
I wish there were a tree that did this
And
instead of,
this one, for reference, the bottom will be 16.5 feet at the base, and then it will go to a point at the top of the star.
So since this is a split purchase and it doesn't exceed 10,000 per department, we don't even need to take this to the full board, do we? Okay.
The only other, go ahead.
Total is under 20,000,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think the committee can approve it.
I know at
Also,
one
too.
time we talked about planting a tree there permanently.
yes, we did.
Frank,
Yeah.
you
And
brought
let it,
that up.
and let it
Yeah.
grow. Frank and I, we went out and looked.
That is the other option that I would love to do. If we don't do this, I would love to get a tree and plant it. But the thing is where are we gonna plant it? And, I mean, that's the option y'all need to look at too, is, I mean, if we don't do this, I would like to get a bigger tree and
And how
plant
big
it.
is the tree gonna be whenever you initially plant that
Yeah.
little baby tree?
See,
I
it's,
think it, maybe 12 feet at the
yeah,
max.
at the max, probably
Quite
12.
small.
Yeah.
And I would assume at some point you would need to trim it,
Yeah,
do something so it's not too big.
yeah.
And
It could
keep
die.
Healthy, yeah.
It could die.
It could die.
It could die.
Yeah, that's
It
the,
could die.
that's the bad thing, we could have it growing
The
for
roots could go
3 or 4
wherever else
years,
the
and
roots
it
want to
just
go.
died and have to start
Yep.
right back all over.
Yep.
That's-
And like Carrie said, the
The roots
roots.
could,
The
that's the
roots,
fountain.
Yeah.
the roots go everywhere.
I gotta have a better reason than that. not
Yeah,
using
coulda.
that tree.
I don't know.
The city of Cookeville actually does put theirs on their fountain Dogwood Park. So that is something other cities have tried. It's kind of where we got the idea.
You know, I ran this by several people that are involved heavily in downtown. You know, some of them said, you know, we're the nursery capital of the world and we're gonna plant a fake tree. And I think that is a legitimate thing to say, so I just wanted to share that a lot of
Well,
downtown.
one other liability with that is we have to try to find a tree. And typically, we're going on people's property, so we've had to replace
Yeah.
fences, we have to repair any damage. We have to be careful that it's not too close to a house or a building, and keep in mind, our guys are not tree service guys, so they are cutting that down. If we are adamant and we want a live tree, I would highly recommend contracting a tree service to get the tree down and set it for us.
I think we're all in agreement that we don't need to cut a tree and bring it on site. But I think our two options are this or planting a tree that we could do easily. I mean, if it's not that big.
So with planting a tree though, what type of tree do you think is going to weather our summers, but then also look good in the winter?
Yeah, and how
Like, do
big
you
are
have a,
they?
I don't know, the
But
same ones
also
they grow.
nurseries
Like that
aren't
one.
selling trees that are that big or bigger.
but
There's-
also, and as the nursery capital of the world, we're not Christmas tree capital of the world. We're deciduous.
Well, I'm
We're
just
not.
telling you what was,
No,
what
we're not.
was, what was shared with me by people that are heavily
Well,
involved
and
in
we can
downtown.
have each year a ceremonial tree
Yeah.
planting that goes in tandem with this. If
Yeah.
we can recognize that we're the nursery capital, of the world, that, no, from an environmental perspective, this is not the most sustainable option. But in tandem with that, we make an effort to recognize that and go out and plant a tree every year that the community can be part of for Christmas as well.
Yeah,
The safety of our employees is.
Anybody know how much
top of mind.
like a tree
That's what I'm
service
thinking,
would
safety.
cost?
Well, I mean,
Any
there's nothing
idea?
unsafe about planting
No.
a spruce tree, and, I mean, we're avoiding that problem by doing that, I think.
Are we under any timeline to do this?
Yeah.
What's the-
If we want it this year, we are.
The end of March would be the last day to purchase because the trees are actually delivered. I think the latest is September 30th it will be delivered to us, but they're custom manufactured.
So if we wait until our next meeting, just so we can talk over some things more, is that too late?
I think that's the possibility. I think that'll work.
Okay, well, we'll just take no action on this and defer it until the meeting on the 25th. And we can go from there.
Yeah.
And we'll try to find prices, how big of a tree we can get from a nursery.
Okay. All right.
I'll try to get some prices and everything from, just to see, make it an option.
For a tree service or for?
No, to plant a tree,
Okay.
see how big of a tree we can actually get to plant.
To celebrate with
And
in our
so-
festivities.
For the sake of time, we'll just go ahead and adjourn this meeting so we can get to streets about the next thing before the full board meeting.
Go ahead and finish mine.
Yeah.
All right. Mine, we have a garbage truck that needs we're having to work on the arm a lot. We have spent like $5,000 fixing it. And we patched it up some, but it needs some more things done to it. It's about $12,000 is how much it'll be. And we have found, they have actually called us back and they have a arm, the whole arm, and it's $19,000. So I would like to be able to purchase the whole arm for $19,000. It's $19,250 and $250 for shipping.
How old is the arm that we're patching and
It
fixing?
is on a 2018 model. So, but probably the last year and a half, 2 years, it has really given us problems. We've had to just keep working on it, do different stuff. The truck's down for 1 or 2 days, which now we do have a backup truck. But, I mean, like I said, we've spent around $5,000 on it. It's gonna take another 12 to get it back to where it needs to be after we do that. I mean, if it needs more, because it's kinda getting wore out.
So, it says you have enough in the budget for, is
Yeah,
that this
yeah.
budget cycle we're in currently?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.
Oh, yeah.
That have to get taken care of.
Planting the tree.
One of them won't look out.
No.
You would hire me. On my kitchen now, like it was 10 survey, it's a blade spray.
Yeah, we could stick about a dozen stuff along.
Yes.
They'll get there.
It's 7 o'clock. We will go ahead and call to order the regular session of the McMinnville Board of Mayor and Aldermen. The first item on the agenda is roll call.
Sally Brock,
Present.
Deidre Dunlap,
Present.
Steve Harvey,
Here.
Rachel Kirby,
Here.
Carrie Morton,
Here.
Carrie Youngblood.
Here.
I'm here too.
Mayor Chastain. Ray Chastain.
Sorry.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of minutes. Each member of the board should have received them in their agenda packet. If there are no requests for additions, corrections, or deletions, I'll entertain a motion to dispense with the reading and approve them as read.
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Deidre Dunlap,
Second.
second by Ms. Carrie Morton. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 3 is recognition of visitors. If anyone wishes to address the board, step to the podium and state your name for the record. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 4, recognition of employees. We have several department heads here this evening. If anyone wishes to give any recognition, come on up. Moving to item 5, communications. Item 5A is a request from CASA Inc. requesting permission to place a banner on the lot from March 17th to April 21st. And this is from the court-appointed special advocates.
Yeah, they're trying to recruit more volunteers, so both in Warren County and Bedford County, they're looking to place these banners in public places to encourage more people to get involved.
I will entertain a motion to approve their letter.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Youngblood, a second by Ms. Brock. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 7 is petitions. There are none. Item 8 is unfinished business. And item 8A is discussion of fund balances.
This is to continue the discussion from the last meeting on kind of the goal for our budget as we head into the fiscal year 25-26 season. I sent everyone a listing of the 20, 25, and 30%, I believe. Last year we budgeted, to end the year with 29.3%. I think we're actually going to end up at approximately 30.5%. So we're right at that 30% right now as it is. The minimum by the comptrollers, is 15%, and some cities have more than 100%. So there's a wide range there. I would like to request that the board set that at a minimum of 25%. I know 30% has kind of been the higher end, and that's kind of been our goal the past few years. But 25% I think is very attainable. We can maintain our current level of service, add some more capital in there. We've been able to complete a lot of capital over the past few years, and I think we can continue that with 25% being that floor. But just in a nutshell, in a summary, that fund balance is really what gets us through until taxes start rolling in. We're able to maintain our service levels. We're able to purchase capital things in July, August, September. We're not having to wait until February to purchase those things. And then in the event of a downturn in the economy, for whatever reason that may be, that rainy day reserve, that percentage that we're discussing would really help us maintain that same level of service. It's no secret that our operating expenditures are going to continue to increase year over year over year. If our revenues aren't increasing in that same capacity, that fund balance is what we use to balance the budget and keep on keeping on, essentially. So I think 25% is a good middle of the road. We haven't been in that 25% mark in quite some time, pre-ARPA money. And I would just think that that's a very attainable and achievable goal, and it doesn't hold back a whole lot of money that could be utilized on other things for the city. But if you have any questions, I've got some different figures. I've got a cash flow graph. I'm not quite sure really what would be beneficial at this point. There's a lot of information, some different literature on what and why and how. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
So are you trying to make this like an ordinance that this would be the way it is every year, or?
This would lead up into a fund balance policy. We currently don't have one, and in order to continue to achieve our strategic goals of developing a comprehensive financial policy, tonight we have the nonprofit policy. That's one little piece of that puzzle. This isn't adopting that policy by any means. This is setting a goal for the fiscal year 26 budget. We're starting to schedule those meetings and head into that, but instead of going in without really a direction on what you all are wanting to see on June 30th, 2026, this gives Mr. Ming some idea of what are we presenting? Are we presenting something that is achievable? Is it what everyone's kind of looking for?
So it's policy and a goal for 2026?
Yes, and then it would have to be adopted by ordinance formally, similar to what we're talking about tonight with the nonprofit.
Is it basically saying that when we set our budget, that's what we're shooting for?
That's our goal. Yeah,
So if
I'm
we
not
don't
gonna-
hit it, if we don't hit it, it's not.
No, this isn't binding us to 25 or 30 or 15. It's just saying that's our goal and that's our direction for this year and this year only. And you're not gonna set the goal at 15% and I'm gonna bring you a 50% or vice versa.
So
I
it's
think-
non-binding?
No, it's just a direction for this year.
I think 25 is a good compromise on where we need to be.
So do you need action on this, or is this just a recommendation going into budget planning?
I think this is just a recommendation. I don't think we need,
Okay,
there's nothing formal like as by way of policy at
Sure.
this moment.
all right,
Okay, 25 it is. Thank you.
thank you. Any other unfinished business to come before the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 9, new business. Item 9A is discussion of Form CT-0253 for the second SRF loan for the water treatment plant improvements.
Each of you should have a form with the comptroller's heading on it at your station. This is just a report on debt obligation for the second SRF loan for the new water treatment plant. You received one of these last fall for the first SRF loan. So this is just a formality, needs to be recorded in the minutes that you all have presented this. It's also in your email if you need to refer back to it. But I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, item 10 is resolutions. Item 10A is resolution number 2025-09 to accept low bid from Cookville Heating and Cooling for a water source heat pump unit at the Milner Center, the amount of $75,800 for the McMinnville Parks and Rec Department. To authorize the city administrator to issue the necessary purchase order on behalf of the city and to express the time when the resolution becomes effective. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Sally Brock.
Second.
Second by Ms. Rachel Kirby. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Sally Brock?
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap?
Aye.
Steve Harvey?
Yes.
Rachel Kirby?
Yes.
Carrie Morton?
Yes.
Carrie Youngblood?
Yes.
Mayor Cheston?
Aye, motion passes. Item 10B is resolution number 2025-10 to authorize the City of McMinnville Water and Wastewater Department to open a checking account for the acceptance of water payments at Coffee Bank and Trust, and to allow the mayor, vice mayor, city administrator, and city treasurer to open the checking account and express the time when the resolution becomes effective. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Carrie Morton,
Second.
second by Ms. Deidre Dunlap. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Sally Brock?
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap?
Aye.
Steve Harvey?
Yes.
Rachel Kirby?
Yes.
Carrie Morton?
Yes.
Carrie Youngblood?
Yes.
Mayor Cheston?
Aye, motion passes. Item 10C is resolution number 2025-11 to implement a charitable donation policy for the city of McMinnville and to express the time when the resolution becomes effective. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Sally Brock,
Second.
second by Ms. Carrie Morton. Any questions or discussion?
Was it gonna be a
What's
3%?
Yeah, what's the percentage?
We don't know.
Oh, maybe.
So did everyone get that? I'm sorry again that that wasn't included in the last week's packet, but to recap, as budgeted this fiscal year 2025, we're at 4.74% of current property tax receivable has been allocated to the donation / dues section of our budget.
Do you have a hard copy? If it's just yours, I don't.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I may refer back to it. That has come down significantly over the past 5-6 years. I mean, at one point it was over 9%. So 3, 4, and 5 percentages, those are just ballparks. I mean, we don't have to go with 3 or 4 or 5. We could do something in the middle of those. And then I also had on that table kind of how that correlates to an actual property tax receipt. So the average property tax receipt's $877, and then how that would correlate to that taxpayer.
I hate to put you on the spot, but and I should have asked this last time, do you have a rough idea of how much percentage it takes to get everything, what we're required to do or what we do every year for like the library, maintenance of effort, those sorts of things?
I do have that.
How much?
So
how much-
chamber dues would be 0.12% or 0.12%. The library MOE is 1.37%. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, I think UCDD and UCHRA dues are the last remaining, and that's 0.06% each.
So we got about 1.5% that is just in there no matter what.
Correct.
So
And all of this is without any of that previous tourism money.
And how much is the overall, like how much is 3%? How much money is that?
Now I'm gonna need my paper.
I passed.
I'm not looking back at something. So if we did 3% on, well, it's not even in that packet. So 3% on, you need cell phone calculator, 4.4 million. So if we take our actual property taxes receivable for this year, budgeted 5,655,972 times 0.03%, it's $170,000
So it leaves us about half of that be after.
after your
So
dues.
$80,000 to $90,000 that we would have if we did 3%. Once the things that we do automatically, that leaves us about between $80,000 and $90,000 left to do for other things.
And 3% is lower than it would have, than we have ever had. That's just
Right.
kind of what was in that boilerplate policy, if you will. And that's why it included 4 and 5%, because the lowest we've ever been is that 4%, 4.74% that we are at right now.
What was the actual property tax that was brought in at 4.7%? Do you have that number?
So on 4.74%, I was estimating 5.7 million in property taxes.
Okay.
That was as budgeted,
And how much was that actually went out? Like
270,000.
Okay. And that was last year?
Here, he's right there.
Oh, thank you.
Budget year.
Not that this is important, but I read somewhere in some of our information, I think it might have been one of the samples or something, but it was saying that property taxes are our biggest revenue source, and that's no longer true with us, is it?
It's about 32-33%. That, the local option and the local option agreement together.
Has gone, but sales tax have surpassed property taxes.
Together they
Yeah.
have, if you add it all together with the agreement and everything.
Right.
So you're looking at $100,000 less this year that we would be giving out roughly
Roughly, yes.
than we did last year,
If we went down
if you go
To
to
three.
3%.
to 3%.
And I can tell you this, it's a lot easier to do this now and get a limit that we have and then decide where it goes than it is at budget time when they're turning their papers and we're sitting there going, okay, you know, it's hard to do at that point.
Absolutely.
It's rough.
And I would like to direct your attention to the actual application. Our policy and our application are parallel to each other. So as you go through the policy and the application, that application says, if you do not meet this criteria, stop, you are not eligible. So it's more straightforward for the person filling that out, and they know coming in and submitting that packet if they are even meeting the minimum criteria. And then it's bringing it here to discuss the full amount, none. I've also added, did you receive funding from Warren County? That's always a question every year. Did you apply, did you receive? And then also, not that it's something we could do now, but maybe in the future, do the proposed use of funds promote tourism in any way? All of them, some of them, or none of them. So that could open up that discussion of getting that out of the general fund if there was a nonprofit that met that criteria.
So we're approving your application process and the amount that we're gonna spend all the
That's-
same?
mhm.
Okay.
And if we go to 3%, it's gonna be $100,000 left to chop.
Yes.
How many other nonprofits generally apply?
Ooh, that varies each year. It has been less lately, I will say. In 2023, 2024, 14 for 2024, 13 for this year.
Have already applied?
No, actually.
For this
yeah.
current fiscal year? Okay.
As far as applied, I think we could add maybe 3 onto that for last year that did receive funding.
How many of those do you think would fall under tourism, just like any?
Maybe 1 or 2, and it wouldn't be the full amount. It would be a portion of that request.
Okay.
Because it would have to be directly tied to tourism, and we would need to be able to prove and track that.
Okay.
And I think our direction has been to lower that, with the goal of lowering it every year a little bit, was kind of what my understanding
That's the way I feel. It got out of hand there for a while.
Because there have been years where I think it was over $500,000,
Yeah, yeah.
or close to
Right at it.
500.
With the
Yeah.
tourism, you were definitely exceeding over $500,000. Without, the highest I have is $396,000. That was in 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
So that was before tourism even really took off. I mean, that was the year that it was 9%.
Wow.
Do you think you think you could cut 100,000 from what you did
I
over
agree with
last year?
Steve, that making that decision right now is what we'll have to do and stick to, and, because it's emotional.
Do you happen to have, I've left my copy at home, because I had all those that we gave last year.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
It's there at the bottom, and then the year before I expanded out.
We had some last year that we voted not to, and then came back later and added.
Well,
another
and
copy
some of them
of
because we give them property last year as well. You know,
Correct.
we didn't.
These are more detailed than kind of what they have, but
It's hard.
Yeah. It is.
they're all the same information, just a few different views.
So which ones are required? Chamber?
I think the chamber dues,
The
library MOE, and then the UCDD and UCHRA, which are based on population.
Okay, thank you.
And this application does kind of state that the application period would open on January the 1st and end in March. We would make an exception this year, extend that deadline out. And then next year, automatically, that application would open on January the 1st and close. And if you're outside of that deadline, sorry, please try again next year. Just more clear for the people who are actually applying for these funds.
I would be willing to make a motion that we stay at 3%. Or can we do it,
I mean, I was
a
gonna say,
ceiling?
I was gonna say 4. I mean,
Okay.
that's still 0.75% less, and it still reduces our obligation, but isn't as severe, obviously, as 3%.
You said
And just-
4.5 or 4 3/4 last year?
4.74.
And just because this ceiling is set, that doesn't mean we have to use all of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was gonna be my question. We
Yeah.
can just say no more than.
If we say 4%, what's that number?
Oh, Libby, I-
200,000.
Y'all put me on the spot to do math, and that's not fun. I should have had that there, I'm so sorry. So let's see, 4% on, we can just go with that 5709. Around $230,000 for next year.
Bringing you down 40,000, potentially some of that being eligible for tourism. I think that's a reasonable number, Ryle. Mayor.
Just Ryle.
Okay, sorry. Mayor Ryle.
I think 4 is a good compromise this year,
Yeah.
And we can say no more than.
and no more than, and then we'll see where we're at. Just looking down here, just trying to see how they earn money, or their ability to earn money to function, and that sort of thing. That's what makes me think. And maybe, I know we bought a HVAC unit or something last year. Wasn't it last year we bought an HVAC unit for a home, for somebody, they needed that for the women's place over
I
there?
think so.
So,
Haven.
that was a big chunk at one time of money. So I think 4% is a good compromise myself.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion for 4%.
We have a motion for 4. We have a second for 4. Any questions or further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap,
Aye.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby,
Yes.
Carrie Morton,
Yes.
Carrie Youngblood,
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Item 10D is resolution number 2025-12 to amend the McMinnville Tourism Advisory Committee charter by changing the composition of the Tourism Advisory Committee within Article 3, Section 1, with the removal of state park and the addition of point of interest or natural landmark representative, IDB director, a TWRA representative, and an arts representative, and to express the time when the resolution becomes effective. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Steve Harvey.
Second.
Second by Ms. Deidre Dunlap. Any questions for Ms. Pooples? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap,
Aye.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby,
Yes.
Carrie Morton,
Yes.
Carrie Youngblood,
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Item 11 is ordinances. Item 11A is ordinance number 2025-03 to declare 109 Magnus Drive surplus property and to express when the ordinance becomes effective. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Sally Brock,
Second.
second by Mr. Steve Harvey. Any questions, discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap,
Aye.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby,
Yes.
Carrie Morton,
Yes.
Carrie Youngblood,
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Item 11B is ordinance number 2025-04 to amend Title IV, Chapter 2, Personnel Rules and Regulations. Attached in this ordinance is Exhibit A, and made part of this ordinance by reference, to provide that the provisions contained in said policy may be further amended, to provide for a severability clause and a superseding clause, and to express the time when the ordinance shall become effective. Is there a motion to approve? We just have to have a motion before we can discuss it, because I don't have any idea what that
I'll
means.
make a motion.
I have a motion by Miss Rachel Kirby, a second by Miss Youngblood.
So we have updated the personnel policy. The thing that drove it was the change in July from the legacy plan to the hybrid. So as we were going through, because it's on an ordinance, we don't update it every year. We try to get as much done as possible. There are several things that we updated. I put a summary together so you could do a quick glance at what changed. The copy that is in your packet has the original and then the markup version, so you know exactly what was changed. So I don't know if I need to go through each one, if you have questions.
I think Tim wants to go through.
Oh, okay. You can have them.
No.
I trust your judgment. Any questions or discussion?
This would be first reading,
Yes, it would.
so we have plenty of time to explore. it.
Absolutely. If there's anything in the summary that you guys don't understand or have a question about, I can give you an answer.
Could you circulate the summary standing alone,
Yes,
so we don't have to flip pages?
without that book,
Yeah.
I sure can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Libby?
Not right now.
All right, going once, twice. All right, we'll call for the vote.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap,
Aye.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby,
Yes.
Carrie Morton,
Yes.
Carol Youngblood,
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Item 11C is ordinance number 2025-05 to amend Tourism and Marketing Department Municipal Code, Title 21, Chapter 3, in the form attached to this ordinance as Exhibit A, and to express the time when the ordinance should become effective. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Steve Harvey,
Second.
second by Ms. Deidre Dunlap. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap,
Aye.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby,
Yes.
Carrie Morton,
Yes.
Carol Youngblood,
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Item 12 is departmental reports. If anyone wishes to address the board, come on up. Nothing, Justin? Mr. Main, do you have anything?
I do not.
Mr. Purtle?
No.
All right, if there's nothing else to come before the board, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you.